shadows of history.
It begins with a moment, a signal, a piece of information that interrupts normal life. A headline appears, a warning is issued, and within seconds, something changes. People stop, they look, they react. Fear does not require time to spread. It requires attention. Once attention is captured, the emotional response follows almost instantly. This is not unusual. It is how the human brain is designed. Fear is a survival mechanism, built to prioritize potential threats over everything else. But in a connected world, that mechanism operates at a scale it was never designed for. A single message can reach millions at once, and when it does, the reaction is not isolated. It becomes collective. The question is not whether fear influences behavior. It always has. The question is how it moves so quickly and why it affects people the way it does. Fear begins in the brain, specifically in a region known as the amygdala. This small structure plays a critical role in detecting threats and triggering rapid responses. When the brain perceives danger, it does not wait for full analysis. It reacts first, then evaluates later. This is why fear feels immediate and overwhelming. The body releases adrenaline, heart rate increases, attention narrows. The goal is simple: prepare for action, fight, flight, or freeze. This response was essential for survival in early human environments, but in modern society, the threats are often informational rather than physical. A headline, an image, or a message can activate the same biological response, and because the brain prioritizes speed over accuracy in these moments, it becomes more susceptible to influence, not because people are irrational, but because they are human. Fear rarely stays contained within a single individual. It spreads, not through direct instruction, but through observation and reaction. This process is known as emotional contagion. When people see others reacting with fear, they begin to mirror that response, often without realizing it. Facial expressions, tone of voice, and behavior all act as signals. In a physical crowd, this spread can happen within seconds, but in a digital environment, it happens at a much larger scale. A single reaction can be shared, amplified, and repeated across millions of screens. Each interaction reinforces the perception that the threat is real and immediate. Importantly, this process does not require intent. No one needs to coordinate it. It emerges naturally from human behavior, but once it begins, it can accelerate quickly. And as it accelerates, the line between individual perception and collective reaction becomes increasingly blurred. Media does not create fear, but it can amplify it. The way information is presented plays a critical role in how it is perceived. Headlines, visuals, and repetition all influence emotional response. A neutral update can feel urgent depending on how it is framed. Continuous coverage can make a situation appear more widespread or immediate than it actually is. This is not necessarily manipulation. It is often the result of competition and the need to capture attention. In a crowded information environment, stronger signals are more likely to stand out, but stronger signals also carry stronger emotional weight. As coverage intensifies, the perception of risk can increase, even if the underlying facts remain unchanged. Over time, this creates a feedback loop. Media reflects public concern, and public concern is influenced by media coverage. And within that loop, fear can grow beyond the original event. Fear intensifies when certainty disappears. When people do not fully understand what is happening, the brain attempts to fill the gaps. It looks for patterns, explanations, and meaning, even when information is incomplete or contradictory. This is where uncertainty becomes powerful. It creates discomfort, and the mind seeks to resolve that discomfort as quickly as possible. In many cases, this leads to rapid conclusions, assumptions, or decisions made without full evidence. At the same time, people look for ways to regain a sense of control. They take actions, sometimes small, sometimes significant, to reduce uncertainty. These actions may not always be rational, but they are understandable, because in moments of ambiguity, the priority is not perfect accuracy, it is emotional stability. And fear, when combined with uncertainty, pushes people toward decisions that feel safe, even if they are not fully informed. When fear reaches a certain level, it begins to change behavior. People make decisions differently. Risk perception shifts. Actions that would normally seem unnecessary or extreme begin to feel justified. This is not because individuals lose their ability to think, but because their priorities change. Safety becomes the primary concern. And when safety is uncertain, people act to regain a sense of control. This can lead to behaviors such as panic buying, avoidance, or rapid decision-making without full information. At a collective level, these individual actions can create large-scale patterns. Entire communities may respond in similar ways, reinforcing each other's behavior. This is how fear moves from emotion to action. And once behavior changes, the effects become visible, economically, socially, and psychologically. Fear does not exist in isolation. It exists within an information environment, and that environment determines how far and how fast it spreads. Digital platforms prioritize engagement, meaning content that generates strong reactions is more likely to be seen. Fear-based content often performs well because it captures attention quickly. It triggers immediate responses, and it encourages sharing. As a result, it becomes more visible. This does not require coordination or intent. It is a byproduct of how the system is designed. Content that resonates emotionally is amplified. Content that does not is gradually ignored. Over time, this creates an imbalance. People are exposed more frequently to information that triggers strong reactions, including fear, and repeated exposure reinforces perception. What is seen often begins to feel more real, more urgent, and more widespread than it may actually be. Perception does not always match reality. When information is incomplete or emotionally charged, the mind tends to fill in the gaps, often in the most dramatic way possible. This is not a flaw, it is a protective mechanism. The brain prepares for the worst to ensure survival. But in a modern context, this can lead to distortion. A localized issue can feel global. A temporary situation can feel permanent, and uncertainty can be interpreted as threat. Over time, this creates a divergence between what is happening and what is believed to be happening. The more exposure people have to emotionally intense information, the stronger that perception becomes. And once perception is established, it can influence behavior, even if it is not fully aligned with reality. Understanding this gap is critical, because it reveals that fear is not just about events, it is about interpretation. The idea that fear is controlled by a single source is appealing, but overly simplistic. In reality, the system is far more complex. Fear emerges from the interaction between multiple elements: human psychology, media structures, digital platforms, and social behavior. No single actor controls all of these factors. Instead, they influence each other in real time. Media responds to audience interest, platforms respond to engagement, individuals respond to information, and together, these responses create patterns. Patterns that can feel coordinated even when they are not. This does not mean influence does not exist. It clearly does. But influence is distributed, not centralized. It operates through systems, not commands. And once you understand that, the narrative shifts. Fear is not simply engineered, it is amplified, shaped, and sustained by the environment in which it exists. Fear is not inherently negative, It is a necessary part of human survival, but in a complex, interconnected world, its effects can extend far beyond individual experience. It can shape perception, influence decisions, and alter behavior on a large scale. Understanding fear does not mean eliminating it. It means recognizing how it works. Because once you understand the mechanism, you gain something valuable: awareness. And with awareness comes the ability to respond rather than react. If you want to understand the forces shaping human behavior and perception, subscribe to Shadows of History, where we don't just observe reactions, we break down what drives them.